Hello, my name is Patrick Cousins, and I'm the Assistant Director in Campus Ministry here at SLU. This Lent, we're going to do something a little different. Twice a week throughout Lent, we will post video reflections on the readings of the day and on the themes of the liturgical season. So here goes for Ash Wednesday today. If it is not the most heavily attended church day of the year, Ash Wednesday is at the very least in the top 3. But strangely, it's not even a holy day of obligation. So, why do so many people find this today, Ash Wednesday, to be an important day of the year to get to church? Maybe one idea, I think there's something about the optics of Ash Wednesday that appeals to people. Unlike every other day of the year, Catholics get to wear something on their bodies that publicly identifies who they are as Catholics. Now, in an era of sexual abuse scandals and public distrust of religious self-identification, maybe people don't always want to advertise their Catholicism, but I think for a lot of people it's nice to be able to not feel self-conscious about proclaiming their religious identities on their bodies. The irony, of course, is that the readings on Ash Wednesday today are all about avoiding the optics of religious performance. Public displays like rending one's garments, fasting in such a way that people know about it, conspicuous almsgiving, all of these things make it very public that you are fulfilling your religious obligations, but in so doing, they turn it into a way of running the risk of congratulating yourself for being so pious. At the same time that they're very public, a lot of our Lenten practices are also surprisingly private. So when we say, "What are you giving up for Lent?" that can easily become a way to make an inconsequential action feel important. Our Lenten practices may leave our bellies a little emptier, for example, if we give up sweets or something like that. They may leave me craving something that I feel like I'm denying myself, and so that feels like it's a good thing. Like I'm mastering my appetites, at least for the next 6 weeks. But do they actually help to bring about the reign of God, the will of God being done on earth? Do they alleviate any suffering? Do they feed the hungry, or clothe the naked, or welcome strangers, or affect anything outside of my own appetites? This is why I think Friday's readings hit so close to home. Isaiah says, "I have done all the rituals, I've fasted, I've kept the rules, so why isn't God doing what I want?" Well, because I don't do those things to change God, but to remind myself that God is trying to change me. Or, as the prophet Joel says in the readings for today, rend your hearts, not your garments. We might say today, put those ashes on your hearts, not just on your foreheads. So what does God really ask of us in this season of Lent and throughout the year? Not just to perform religious duties, and certainly not so that we think that God now owes us a favor, but to be agents of liberation in a world that is loaded to the brim with suffering. So you give up chocolate for Lent? Great. But are you challenging oppressive practices too? You giving up coffee for the next 6 weeks? Good for you. But are you also struggling with the depth of racism in our country and on our campus? For me, one action is not equal to the other. Fasting and abstinence, prayer, almsgiving, all of those classic Lent practices are great, but not if they become a way for us to stop there and to ignore what Isaiah says is clearly the kind of religious practice that God truly desires from us: breaking the yoke of oppression, feeding the hungry, not turning our backs on people. All of us in campus ministry extend our prayers and best wishes to you and the entire SLU community as we begin our Lenten practice today. We hope to hear from you throughout this season.